For today's video, I'm going to go over the prep that I do before I put the boat in the marina for the season. So, I'm not an expert boat builder. This is just, the things that I have been doing that work for me, and the products that I use, again, that work for me. So, there might be better ways of doing business, but, I'm just going to give you an idea of what I do. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is the mast. So I take the mast off the boat, lay it out in the driveway on some boxes, and I clean it with mild detergent, soap and water. And then after that, I follow up with some WD-40. So I just kind of spot check any marks or mars, any rub marks, whatever. WD-40 will take it right off that aluminum. And so I just spot treat it with a rag. And so where the halyards rub on it, that kind of stuff, it'll leave little black marks, and the WD-40 will clean it right up. The other thing is, this is an aluminum mast from Dwyer, and it has stainless steel fixtures that are riveted to it for like the shrouds or for the spreaders. And a lot of people on the forums are like, oh, you shouldn't put stainless steel on an aluminum mast because of galvanic corrosion. Well, if you actually do the research and look at the charts that show potential of different metals for galvanic corrosion, the potential between stainless steel and aluminum is very, very small. They are very, very close together on those charts. So it's not really galvanic corrosion you want to worry about, it's crevice corrosion. And crevice corrosion can happen between any metals, so it could be stainless and stainless, but it's where two things come together, and then there's a little gap in there because maybe it doesn't rest perfectly on there, perfectly tight. And so water gets in those little crevices, and because of the surface tension of the water, it doesn't dry and evaporate as fast, and so it sits in those crevices, and where the air meets the water starts to corrode. And so WD-40 is, if you don't know, from the space program back in the 50s and 60s, it's water displacement formula 40. So it took 39 tries, and then the 40th formula worked as a water displacement for the space program, for the rockets. And so when you spray it into the little crevices where the fittings hit the mast, it'll stay in there, and it'll prevent water from getting in there and prevent that crevice corrosion. So great product. Now, you definitely don't want to get this anywhere near any of your 3M sealant products. So your 5200, your 4200. So you don't want to spray it like on the base of your stanchions, or where the stern rail, the stern pulpit, the bow pulpit, where those are mounted to the boat. You do not want to use this for rust prevention on like those mounting screws or any of that kind of stuff, because if it gets into the 3M sealant, it'll break it down and soften it. So definitely not for those areas. But on the mast, great product. For the masthead, so I have not cleaned out my masthead yet, but WD-40 would be great if you take the sheaves and the pins out of the masthead, spray some WD-40 in there, get it nice and clean, but then dry it off. And then follow up with some marine dry lube. So that's what you want to use on the sheaves in the masthead. So other things that get a little spritz of WD-40, the lock for the lifelines and the little threads that are inside it. Good idea to put a little WD-40 in there, again, to prevent rust, and then to keep all the action moving nice and smooth. Another place I use WD-40 is right in here. So again, this is a good place for some crevice corrosion if water stays in this little slot in here. So really good idea to spray that with a little WD-40. Similarly, again, so you don't want it to get to the sealant where it's mounted, where the through-hole bolts are, but perfectly fine over here on the pivot point, and also right here on this pivot point, to put a little WD-40 to keep that moving nice and smooth. All right, so next is some of the nylon on the boat. So there's some plastic / nylon on the boat, like the horn cleats, of course the cam cleats. You've got your little stern light over here from Hella that, it's basically plastic. And so you want to, give all that stuff a little coating of protectant to help protect it from the UV and prevent drying and cracking. And so, I use Armor All. There's certainly better products than Armor All, like some, 303 and some of the other protectants that are made specifically for the marine environment. But of course, I use this on the car. Been using it for years. And so, it's just what I use on the boat. And again, my boat is only in the marina for 3 months. If it was out there all year, I would do it more often and probably use a different product. But you want to use something, right? So whatever your product choice is, get some protectant. So you want to cover your stern light. You want to use it on your bow light. You want to give a little coating on your cam cleats. You want to get the little cheek blocks, and then also on the rub rail. Now, the one place that I don't use it is on the seals around the port lights and the front hatch, the forward hatch. Instead, I use a specific rubber seal moisturizer, and so I'll talk about that later. So when you're doing protectant on the cam cleats, you don't want to put a lot, so you don't want to have a lot of excess. You don't want it to be wet. So just use a rag, spray a little protectant on it, wipe it on, wipe it back off with a dry rag. Again, it's just to prevent drying out and cracking. What you don't want to do, so your sheets and your halyards have natural oils that are in the lines, and so you don't want to really add anything to that. And certainly no, Armor All probably isn't going to harm it a lot, but certainly no solvents, right, on your lines. But in general, you just want to keep your lines dry so it's not picking up any dirt or anything like that. So again, give it a light coat just to keep it soft and supple and from cracking. Give it a little UV protection, and then just dry it off with a rag. All right, so next is the teak on the boat, and you want to oil all the teak to prevent it from drying out and cracking. So I've used Old English in the past. Right now I'm using Pledge Revive It Restoring Oil. You do not need to use teak oil. There is no consistency of what teak oil really is. It's kind of just a name, and a lot of it has like solvents in it and things like that. So really what you want to use is a wood oil, and so right now I'm using Pledge. You could use Old English, whatever, but you just want to give a nice light coat of oil on all your teak throughout the boat. So anywhere where there's teak, including like the step for the cooler, you just want to give that a light coat of oil. In the manual for the Precision 18, it actually says to do it, I think, like monthly, either monthly or quarterly. But I try to do it about 3 times a year because my boat's in the garage most of the time. But yeah, it's definitely something you want to stay on top of. And if it starts drying and cracking, then it's kind of too late. So you want to prevent that. All right, so inside the boat, of course, I vacuum out the boat, try and keep the upholstery nice and clean. As far as the cabin floor, so typically it's just mild detergent, so in this case Dawn soap, and then a nice bristle brush, and so I just kind of scrub the cabin floor. If you have some harder stains to get out, you can add a little Ajax and then hit it with a brush, and that'll get all the stains out of the crevices. But typically, it's just a mild soap and a good going over with the bristle brush. All right, so when I'm cleaning the cabin floor, I just use the sponge to get a little water on it. Do a light scrub with the sponge, and then get all the stuff out of the crevices with the brush. So when you clean the port lights, you just want to make sure you let them dry, because what you don't want to do is lock any moisture in behind the seal, because that'll just accelerate the breakdown and drying out of that seal. So just leave them open, let it dry out. The soapy water will get all the handprints and things like that off. Now, if on the outside, if you have like water stains, what you can use is new finish car polish. That'll take it right off. It'll make these port lights on the outside just super smooth, shiny, bright. It's amazing. New Finish is a great product for some of these acrylics and plastics. So another tip on the port lights is you never want to use glass cleaner, anything with ammonia, because that's designed for glass, and these are an acrylic or plastic, and so it'll dry the plastic out and cause crazing on it. So yeah, just avoid glass cleaner. Again, mild detergent is really the best thing, so just a little soapy water. So of course, in the cabin, all the port lights, the 4 port lights and the forward hatch have rubber, kind of like a weather strip, weather sealing around them. And so you definitely don't want that to dry out or crack, right? You want to moisturize it and keep it soft and supple so that you get years of service out of it. And so what I use on that is what I used on my RV. So this is a 3-in-1 RV Care rubber seal conditioner. So it's got a UV protectant, and it's basically a moisturizer. It's a conditioner for those rubber seals. And so that will keep them from drying out, keep them nice and soft and flexible, and you'll get years and years of service out of them. Definitely something you want to be doing, because if those seals start cracking, you're going to start getting leaks in your boat. So I think this is a very, very important step. So new finish is great on any kind of like marks or scuff marks on the fiberglass. And typically what I find is it's from something metal. You know, could be a set of keys, a ring, a shroud, some kind of, fixture, anything that's metal on the boat that rubs on the fiberglass. It's going to leave these little, black rub marks. And when you come in with a sponge and some mild detergent, it doesn't do anything. But a little bit of new finish will take that right out. And so in this case, this is from my boom, because the boom sits in the cabin when I am trailering the boat. And so just a little dab of new finish right there, and presto magico, scuff mark is gone. So here's another place where I found some pretty bad scuff marks all down here and down here on the fiberglass, and that is from the solar panel, from these metal rivets on the back side of the solar panel. So I guess now I'm going to face it with the solar panel toward the fiberglass. But again, a little bit of new finish, and those come just right out so easily. It is really wonderful. Alright, so there you have it. A little bit of new finish, and all those scuff marks on the fiberglass are right out. Alright, so one note of caution on the new finish. I love the product. It's great on the fiberglass for getting all those little scuffs, scratches, rub marks out. But you got to be really careful and make sure it doesn't touch any black nylon, any black rubber, any black plastic, or anything with a matte finish paint on it. So if it gets on those surfaces, it'll turn them white and it'll dry them out. So think about like your navigation lights, the little black housing that they sit in. If you get it on there, it's going to turn it white. The rubber seals around your port lights and your forward hatch, yeah, it'll dry them out and turn it white. Your nylon horn cleats, for tying the boat off to a dock, it'll turn them white. The rub rail, no, don't want to get any of this new finish on any of those surfaces. So it's great to get the water stains out of the exterior of your port light, but after you do that, wipe it all off, use a dry cloth, do some polishing, and then maybe even get a mild detergent and rinse it off one more time, let it dry before you press it up against the rubber seal, just to make sure that you don't get any of that white residue and the drying out that the new finish causes. But again, on fiberglass, great product, love it, use it all the time. You can use masking tape, right? So if you're trying to get a scuff out around the horn cleat, just put some masking tape on the horn cleat and get in there with the new finish, clean it up, wipe it off, maybe even rinse it, and then pull the masking tape off, and you'll be fine. Alright, so as far as the boat washing routine, both above on the decks and below on the hull, I just use the Turtle Wax car wash. You can buy, boat/marine specific washes, but the Turtle Wax car wash does just fine. You definitely want to get some kind of a car washing brush, a soft bristled brush. I use this one, and so that's great for reaching the shoal draft keel and all the areas underneath the boat. Below the waterline, so to get off any staining below the waterline, I use Booyah non-acid hull cleaner. I did a separate video on this. This stuff is great stuff. It's non-toxic. It doesn't have any like fumes. You don't have to wear a respirator. It won't damage your galvanized trailer. It won't kill your lawn. And it's wipe on, wipe off. So this stuff is great. Now, the problem with any hull cleaner, or if you're using like a solvent or acetone for doing any kind of work on the boat, all that kind of stuff takes the protection off of the gel coat and opens up those pores. So gel coat is porous, and that's how you get like the blisters in the fiberglass, which they're very rare. It's very rare to get blisters in fiberglass. Typically a neglected boat, after many years, is the only kind of time you're going to get those blisters. But it's really still a good idea to keep a good coat of wax on your boat and keep those pores closed. And so, for that watertight protection, I just use Turtle Wax car wash, and it says right on there, for fiberglass and boats and all kinds of other things. And again, you can buy boat-specific wax, but it's basically the same thing. So typically, I do at least one coat, sometimes two, and I do both the hull and all the fiberglass, not the non-skid, but all the fiberglass gel coat on the decks with at least one coat of Turtle Wax hard shell. So on lifelines, you'll end up getting little black marks where they pass through the top of the stanchion. And so the best thing for that is Magic Eraser. Magic Eraser works fantastic on that. And then just follow up with some kind of protectant, Armor All or whatever you want to use. All right, so the last thing is the starboard. So that's used for these trim pieces up here and then for the companionway hatch itself. And the best way to clean that again is with a mild detergent, a sponge, a nylon bristle brush, and then if you need to, for spot areas of little rub marks and staining, a little bit of Comet or Ajax. And you can do that either with the sponge or with the brush. But yeah, that'll keep that gleaming white. Alright, so there you have it. That is everything that I do to prepare the boat for going into the marina. And hope it was helpful, and thanks for watching.